And welcome to, Hi everyone, and welcome to another incredible episode of Inside Student Affairs. I'm the Director of Development for Student Affairs, Zach Hawkins, and today I have an amazing guest with me to talk about the LGBTQ Center at UNC Chapel Hill, Dr. Terri Phoenix. How are you, Dr. Phoenix?
Well, I hope you are today.
Good. Well, thank you for joining Inside Student Affairs. And the reason that we have this platform is because we need to take people inside of the work that we do and the people who do the work and how we're making a difference every day. A lot of work, a lot of highlights have gone to coronavirus and all the other things that are happening around campus, but the work is still being done to support our students, to make a more enriched and diverse environment at UNC. And people deserve to hear that story. And I know you love Carolina, and I know that you're working hard. And so I always start off by tell us about you. How did you get into this work? How long have you been in the field? And how long have you been at UNC?
Yeah, so I started doing LGBTQ education and advocacy work in the early 90s and through a number of different nonprofit organizations. And my professional life, I was a therapeutic recreation specialist. And it wasn't until 2005 that I started to work at the LGBTQ Center, first as a graduate assistant and then as an assistant director. And then in 2007, after a national search, I was hired as the director. So I've been at UNC Chapel Hill since 2005, but I've been the director of the LGBTQ Center since 2007.
Well, good. What have you seen change since 2005?
Well, we've had a number of big policy wins. So we have added gender identity and gender expression to the non-discrimination statement. That was not here when I got here in 2005. We've added a design standard that requires every new build or major renovation to have at least one gender non-specific bathroom. There's an alumni network now that is thriving. There is both graduate and undergraduate student programs that are very robust. And our Safe Zone Ally program has grown over the years. When I first got here, we were training anywhere from 250 to 350 people per year. And now we're training well over 1,000 a year. So last year, I think it was like 1,150 people that went through our training. So the center has just continued to grow, and we now are on, I'm on pan university committees. I think I'm on about 14 committees now. So we get to affect the policy and the practices across the university.
No, well, that's good. And I mean, it's nothing like being on campus and being a part of a lot of meetings, isn't that right?
Well, when I first started working as the assistant director, I had no interest in being the director. And it wasn't until I sort of stood in for a little bit of time on an interim kind of basis that I found out how much good you can do in those
Sure.
policy meetings, because you can really change things on the ground for our students. We just recently got an agreement from the registrar's office that students now will be able to have their chosen name or preferred name on their diplomas, which is going to be huge for students, particularly trans and non-binary students, but for all students who maybe their legal name isn't the name that they're known by.
Sure. No. It makes a ton of difference. And so you talked about the center growing. You talked about some of the highlights, but let's talk about the services. So, the Safe Zone training is one, and that, like you said, is a paying university effort. And so you
Yes,
not only it comes out of your office and solely out of your office, isn't that correct?
It is. It's solely out of our office, and we work with departments and units all across the campus. So I just last week did a training, healthcare safe zone through the School of Medicine, and I also did a training for Campbell University for their med school last Wednesday night. And so we do trainings. We are working right now with the National Intercollegiate Cycling Association. And I'm going to be working with Academic Impressions, which is a national professional development institution or organization. So we do cross-campus work, and then we do work in the community and the nation.
That's fantastic. And so with with that, are there other services before we get to the core of
Yeah,
the?
our student services are really the mainstay of the work that we do. I mean, one of we talk about our work as having sort of three buckets, and one is education and training, one is community building, and one is advocacy and direct service. And so the advocacy and direct service and community building are all of the programs that we have for our undergraduate and our graduate students. So we have we have what we call our Center After Dark that meets on a weekly basis. During COVID, we've adjusted that a little bit to be a more of a biweekly or monthly social that we have. And so we may have events like a Pictionary night, or students make a PowerPoint around a particular theme and then do a short 5-minute presentation. We have gaming, online gaming that we do as a group with the students. We have discussion topics that we have with the students. We have visibility and education days. So like Trans Day of Visibility is coming up at the end of March. And so we'll have some educational programs around that. And then we'll have a social for all the folks that identify as transgender and their allies. And so we have weekly programs for both our undergraduate and our graduate students. And they're really a lifeline right now, particularly for students who aren't located on campus, because many students live in areas where they don't have a very active LGBT organization or community, and or they don't have access to that community. And so the online services that we're providing right now are really a lifeline for a lot of LGBTQ individuals.
No, and I can imagine that, and because so many people, I get a chance to talk to lots of different alumni and friends at the university, and they a lot of times want to drill down and ask, well, how are the students past coronavirus in classes? And so, how are the students in the community? How has COVID impacted those relationships? Because you're exactly right. I know that your programming was a lifeline before, but it's almost imperative now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and we worked, and I'm very proud of the university, because when students were sent home at the end of the spring last year, there were a number of LGBTQ students that did not have homes to go to, either because their parents or guardians had not allowed them to come back home, or they had cut ties with them when they came out, or for various and sundry reasons. And the university did a really nice job of letting those students stay on campus, and have access to continuing services. But then for those students that did go back home or did go back to their communities, again, a lot of them live in more rural communities where there's not a very lively LGBTQ in-person organization or community. And so their connection to us through the virtual programs that we've been doing have really been how they've found connection, community, social support, and a sense of connection with folks.
No, and college is all about finding your people, having
Hmm.
connection, and building community.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, because
Absolutely.
as you mentioned, you never know what relief finding that community can give.
Yeah.
And so when students come in, they get a chance to have a safe space, and but those programs that you run don't run off love, and
No,
and
no,
so
they
one
don't.
of the things that I always want to ask is, how can alumni, friends, and parents support the work that you do?
Well, one of the things that we're going to be launching this summer that we've been trying to work on for a couple of years is an advocacy council. And so, if people are interested in serving on that, they can reach out to me at the LGBTQ Center. Certainly, we have our Give UNC Day is coming up in March, on March 30th. And so if folks want to support the work of the center through financial contributions, that's a great way. And they can always do that at our website, lgbtq.unc.edu. But yeah, those are ways. And then we often are looking for speakers or volunteers for different programs. Our Lavender graduation and queer prom, we often are looking for people to volunteer for those programs when they're in person. This year they're probably going to be virtual again, so we won't need as many volunteers. But often there's an opportunity for people to plug in those ways. But
Well,
yeah, the
good.
financial piece is really big for us. We don't have a designated line of funding through either state money or student fees, and so we're really dependent upon the support of our donors and contributors.
No, well, I'm glad that you made that distinction about where the money comes from, because I was going
Yeah.
to ask you that. So thank you. Thank you for that. And you talked about where to find you, but I think it's important for people to know every place to find you, how to call, how to email, and
Yeah, so you can
various
email
social
me
media.
at tphoenix@email.unc.edu, or you can email the main center at lgbtq.unc.edu. Or excuse me, that's our website, lgbtq@unc.edu. And you can reach us. Also, we have a feature called Want to Talk on our website. That if you go to our website, you can set up an appointment, either a phone appointment, a text appointment, a Zoom appointment, or an in-person appointment when we're doing in-person appointments. And you can plug right into our calendars and get an appointment with any one of us. And we want people to know that we will meet them anywhere, because sometimes people are not out on campus, or they're fearful of being identified as being with someone, who is identifiable from the office. So we meet people everywhere. We'll meet them in the community at various coffee shops or whatnot. We really try to meet folks where they need us to be.
No, fantastic. Thank
And
you.
the other thing that I'll say that we haven't talked about is a service that we provide to the community.
Mhm.
We often work with families of people that identify as LGBTQ, both people that are students currently, as well as folks that are in our K through 12 schools in Chapel Hill, Carrboro City schools, or Orange County schools. Because a lot of times parents and guardians and family members have a process that they have to go through, similar to the coming out process that an individual student may be going through. And so a lot of times parents and guardians and family members reach out to us to kind of get connected to the community resources, as
Sure.
well as the resources that we provide.
No, exactly, because they want to know how best to help
That's
and how
right.
best to process and how best the language.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Terry, I learned something. I didn't even know that. And I know your program pretty well. So that's amazing. And I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing, how you're supporting diversity at Carolina, not only again on campus, but around campus and in the Chapel Hill and Durham community. And so I invite people to go and find you, not only to give, but of course for all the resources that you've given. And so Terry, we will share this on LinkedIn. We share this on our social media
Oh,
platforms and
great.
with prospects and donors. Absolutely don't forget about Give UNC. That is an absolutely critical day. And don't you worry, we'll be sending you emails about it. But you'll know. And I think this is just another incredible part of how UNC Student Affairs through the LGBTQ Center is helping to continue to keep Carolina alive. So with that, this has been another incredible episode of Inside Student Affairs. Thank you, Terry. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
very much.
Yep. And we will see you soon. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye.